Alright, this is my video on ethanol. For a long time when I was younger, I always looked into ethanol and said, oh, this might be a good thing. There might be something positive with it, we can help power the world or whatnot. And as I've gotten older and learned a bit more, honestly, I can't find anything positive about ethanol. I looked for it, I can't find it, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. You see, people say that if we had an ethanol infrastructure already, it would be more sustainable, we can power everything with ethanol, wouldn't be a problem. Alright, but let me give you this example. Pretend the ethanol industry is like a big box. It's a machine in the morning. And you have to pour so many gallons of ethanol in this machine to start it up. And once you got it running, at the end of the day, you make 1 gallon of ethanol. You get the point. After a while, you're going to run out of fuel to power the machine to make fuel. Alright, ethanol is essentially a food crop. Ethanol is basically like grain liquor in a sense, Ethanol has a lot of problems. It's very expensive, time consuming to produce. First, you have to grow the crop, and that means you run a lot of machines, tractors and whatnot. You have to harvest it, once again, which means more machines and energy wasted. Then you have to ship it really quickly before it degrades. Then it goes to these special ethanol processing plants, these big factories that use high amounts of temperature, high amounts of pressure. And then once you've produced a quality ethanol product, you have to truck it very quickly because you can't just pipe it like a petroleum product. It's not good. So what happens is that you have to have these machines and then ship it to special storage facilities. Alright, ethanol just takes a lot of time and money to produce. And you got to also understand, like, why is ethanol being pushed? Well, you got to look at the people who are pushing it. Alright, there's a lot of wealthy people with a lot of influence, and they don't want to lose it. Bill Gates, unfortunately, invested heavily in ethanol. He doesn't want to lose any influence or money. Alright, look at Hillary Clinton. She's another example. Politicians always push ethanol. Why? Well, Hillary Clinton, at least 13 times she voted against ethanol subsidies. She didn't like the business. Until all of a sudden she decided to run for president. Now, the beginning of the primary season takes place in a lot of these corn-growing states. So she just told them what they want to hear, got their votes, the end. All right. Ethanol, I mean, the chemical itself, the actual ethanol fuel, if you were to compare it to gasoline, you can have like one amount of gasoline, an equal amount of ethanol. You're going to be able to do more work and travel farther on gasoline than you ever could on ethanol. So you're actually burning more fuel by using ethanol than you would with gasoline. And people say, well, ethanol's cleaner. Not really. Alright, before I get into the whole burn characteristics of ethanol, I want to talk a little bit about the environment. If you're really an environmentalist and you're watching this, I want you to be concerned about the growing of the corn. Alright, because now we have a whole bunch of pesticides, herbicides, fertilizers. They're going into the soil, going down to the groundwater, poisoning everything. The people who are growing this corn isn't mom and pop farmer. It's the industrial farmers, the people who hire the illegal immigrant labor. Alright, and the corn is another concern. I mean, you can make ethanol on practically everything. But the corn is what the United States is using because the corn industry basically runs the United States. And at least, now get this, at least 86% of all corn grown in this country is Monsanto GMO. Now, GMO stands for genetically modified organism. Alright, now these genetically modified organisms have been linked to liver and kidney failure, stillborn births, halfway births, death and blind births, blood deformities. Also, sterilization. Animals, after a few years of eating the genetically modified corn, became sterile. That means they can't reproduce. Alright, there's a lot of issues with genetically modified organisms. And that's what the corn is. I mean, a lot of this corn produces pesticides on the outside, which the bugs eat and die. If it's killing the bugs, what's it doing to you? Alright, now besides the whole aspect there about the corn, you also got to consider, well, how much corn do you need? Alright, if we were to take all the corn that's in everything, plastics, explosives, food, everything that we make corn, make with corn, and turn it 100% into ethanol, it'd only be 12% of our fuel needs. So we're going to need to get a lot of fuel somewhere else. Alright, we can't power the world on ethanol. And it gets worse. Alright, like I said, the burn characteristics of ethanol. Ethanol, because it's an alcohol, has a strange habit of burning clear every once in a while. That means you don't know there's a fire till it's too late. Alright, ethanol also, it does produce less carbon and hydrocarbon emissions. That's good for the environment. But it does have the aspect of producing some weird nitrogen compounds, nitrogen oxides, that go in the air and create smog and acid rain and whatnot. Now, ethanol also, from some of the reports I've been hearing, when burned, creates some chemicals similar to formaldehyde that are toxic to humans, that go up into the environment as well, so that's not good. Ethanol also, I thought about this. If it's causing you to get reduced mileage because it has less potential energy, and most of our fuels today are blended with ethanol, that means we're buying more petroleum fuel. Because you're forced to buy more fuel Therefore, you're sending more money overseas to the people we're not supposed to be sending money to in the first place. All right, even NASCAR found a third less mileage when they switched to ethanol blended fuels. I mean, it's really sad. And ethanol, all right, getting into the whole aspect of what's it doing to you. All right, if you're Joe America and you're putting ethanol in your car, all right, you got some issues. One, you're going to be spending a lot more money on gas because it's not as efficient, doesn't have as potential energy. You're also polluting more because this goes back to chemistry days. You remember conservation of mass? It doesn't go anywhere, it just changes form. Well, if you're putting more fuel in the car, you're sending more pollutants out. You also have to worry about the integrity of your car. I hate to clue it to you, but ethanol is destroying your motor. It really is. Ethanol degrades almost every type of rubber and plastic it touches. Ethanol's acidic, it's corrosive, and if you have aluminum, it supposedly also reacts in a similar fashion. But if let's say you have like iron or let's say steel, you're like, oh, I should be safe. Well, it's not going to be very acidic to those components, but it's going to bond with water. That's what ethanol does. Ethanol attracts water, falls to the bottom of the tank, and starts rotting out your fuel tank and fuel lines. All right, so even that doesn't help you. Just a few points of water in your fuel system can really destroy the octane level. And that means that you have an engine that knocks and pings, which can cause damage besides reduced mileage and whatnot. If you don't believe me in how damaging ethanol can be to a fuel system, there's a little experiment you can try. Go to any old store, buy yourself a bottle of isopropyl rubbing alcohol, get yourself a pack of batteries with the cardboard piece. Rip the cardboard off, take the batteries out, put the plastic tray down, and pour a little bit of rubbing alcohol in the tray. Within a few minutes, that plastic's going to be completely gone. That's what happens, and that's basically what's going on to the fuel system in your car right now. I mean, it's just that ethanol, I'm going to leave you with this point. If ethanol was such a great crop, it's just a great product altogether, and it was really going to save the world, be fuel efficient, help us all out, would it really need to be mandated by the federal government to be used in fuel? And then would it need to be heavily subsidized with your taxpayer dollars so that it's at least affordable to be added to fuel? It's a scam. We aren't getting any more energy out of ethanol. We're wasting energy, and we're wasting time. I really think, to protect the cars on the road now and to protect the American consumer, we should really stop this whole ethanol subsidy business.